Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Patriot Show. I'm your host, Anthony Stephen Malone. With us today is Magda Khalifa, all the way from the United States. She is an American combat veteran and the owner of Triangular Fragrances, New York. She's coming on the show to talk about her foundation and a lot of other interesting things. Well, Magda, how are you doing?
Doing great, and great to connect with you today.
Excellent. How's everything over stateside?
Things are going well. Things are improving across the board for everyone here in the United States. I hope the same for you across the waters.
We are just starting to open up again after COVID, but everyone's starting to settle down a little bit. A lot of my viewers in America and Canada will know exactly who you are. For my British viewers, can you give me a little bit about your background, please?
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up in the New York City area and was married, had a job, had a career, and unfortunately, the events of September 11th, 2001 happened. We were, savagely attacked by the enemy. So living in the area, of course, I saw it. My husband at the time, he was working for a company that was on the 101st floor, and they lost 200 coworkers. So it was very near and dear to everybody who lived in the area. Of course, you saw, you smelled, you heard, you felt the impact, even if you didn't know somebody specifically. But I needed to do something. We tried to donate blood, and they had enough blood at the blood banks because there were not enough survivors from the attack in New York. So I eventually, shortly afterwards, really, I decided to enlist in the United States Army in the reserve component. And I joined a special operations unit and deployed in 2004 and then in 2006 to Iraq to serve overseas as part of the fight. Upon returning, this was in 2007, that's when my battle began. So serving and being part of the team, the coalition, that was very therapeutic. However, coming home, there was no guidebook. I was a changed person, of course, after anybody who's been through an experience, good or bad, but where you're in a vacuum, so to speak, and it really changes your views on things and realigns priorities. So when I came home, first of all, I was having health issues. I didn't understand. I couldn't explain. It didn't make sense to me. And at the same point, I went through a divorce. I, was disconnected from my family, my friends, my community that I had known. And I was not the same person that I was previously. It definitely changed, like so many other veterans do after intense experience like that. So I was functional, thank goodness, but I lived very small for many years. I was reclusive. I, stayed inside. I had a job as a defense contractor for about 5 years. So I had a job, to go to. But at the same point, I was just very disconnected. And this was in my 30s, so I lost a good chunk of my 30s playing so small and just holding back. But I didn't understand what was going on until I started working with veterans nonprofits, and we were helping, other veterans who I thought they were far worse off than I was because they were missing limbs, they were badly burned. So it felt really good to help our brothers and sisters. Now you have to think about the context of what was going on. I mean, we were still engaged on, 2 major fronts and other locations around the world. So it was a pretty intense time, as you know. So I did that on the side, and that helped me feel good about helping. And along the way, I started to learn about what was really going on with me. And I realized it wasn't me as a person, it was what I was exposed to in combat that had, affected my DNA, was causing these health issues, was leading to the depression and the anxiety and everything else I was, physically experiencing as well. So the remedy for that, once we kind of identified what the root causes were, I was able to take steps, corrective action, through proper supplementation, through changing my environment, through finding a way to help my body heal, and therefore my mind heal. And that was huge. That was a great step in the right direction. Like the window had finally opened and some sunlight started to come through. So that continued over several years. And I was, I'm a pit bull type, protector. Once I sink my teeth into something, I'm not going to let go of it until, I find the answers. So because this little glimpse of information was shared with me, I, dug further and found answers on my own. And it was not an overnight process. It was a long journey of healing. However, I was able to push through and get to a great place where my mind, I had improved my health, not 100%, but tremendously. And I could reclaim some of who I was as a person, before I left and deployed and went through everything and was changed. So that was a win. That was huge. And I finally got to a point early in 2019. So 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, I was in the room with mentors and other, business folks. At that point, I had already started a business, a small business, and was playing small and staying comfortable, if you will, but was functional. So I'd gotten to this point where I was able to branch out and get uncomfortable. And we were all sharing our stories. And I shared for the first time some of my story from Iraq. And it was very uncomfortable. But we all know that everything you want in life lies on the maximum point of fear. Once you cross that threshold, it's smooth sailing. So I opened up, I shared, I got vulnerable, I got emotional. It was, I think the term is called a purge, where you share something that you've kept bottled up inside of you and haven't told, well, 2 people, but that's it. You kept it inside and it was festering. And wow, that was a very big moment for me. I was encouraged to share my story. So I set out to write my story. I love history, so I thought, capturing some history of the time is important for sure. But I wanted to show the before, the during, and the after. So it's not just a war book. If you see, American Dream is the name of the book. I self-published it. It came out in October of 2019. American Dream stands for, well, DREAM is an acronym. DREAM stands for discipline, resilience, endurance, adaptability, and mentorship to succeed and win in life. Now, in that book, as you can see, you have this gold triangle. That's freedom triangle. So as I was writing the book towards the end and, going through like editing and researching, just, make sure everything was good to go, I actually went through some epiphanies on my own and shared that in the book. I felt it was important to share those epiphanies. And by sharing those epiphanies, I was able to create and write about Freedom Triangle and introduce it to the world. And what is it? Okay, it's a framework. It's a framework that can guide people to finding inner peace and significance in life. It's the steps I took to get there. And I didn't see it coming, but that's indicative of how healthy my mind and my physical brain and my mind had become over the years by taking these intentional steps to improve my health and my environment, my well-being, and my life. So to go from a very, very dark place, 2007 was probably the roughest year, and I start off the book with some chapters about that. To go from that mindset, where I was struggling to find a reason to wake up the next day, and I felt like shit, honestly. To go from that to be able to create something, to have the wherewithal to want to share it with others, to help others, that right there is a huge win. And that right there shows that anybody can do this. It may not be an overnight process, but regardless of their struggle, they're able to commit and do this. And I'm hoping that Freedom Triangle serves as a guide to help provide the considerations that they may not have ever thought of previously. So the book came out, hit bestseller on Amazon, and I realized, not everybody reads. I hadn't yet recorded an audio version. So I thought, how can I get more people to learn about Freedom Triangle and improve their lives? So it became clear I needed a physical product to introduce people to Freedom Triangle. And I wanted something that could serve men and women and serve people worldwide. So that is why I came up with Triangle Fragrance, which is inspired by Freedom Triangle. So I set out to work on the fragrance line, a luxurious eau de parfum fragrance line, long-lasting, beautiful scents. And created that, but also included on the back of each box, there's a little story, a unique story. So there's 6 different stories that tie to the points of the Freedom Triangle: time freedom, health freedom, and mind freedom. And in addition, inside each box, there is a little card, a little wallet-sized card that has eloquent statements, affirmations that can help guide people throughout the day. So it all ties back to the Freedom Triangle. They could put it in their wallet, they could put it in their mirror, their refrigerator, their coffee, next to the coffee maker. So I believe these new scents, which are unique, and reading this card every day may serve to help people, because we're all going through struggle. I mean, look how rough, 2020 was for everybody worldwide.
Yeah.
So it's kind of uncanny, the idea for the fragrance. I started working on it 2 months before everything happened in March of 2020 with the coronavirus. So that being said, 2020 was a year of working on the fragrance line, the manufacturing, development, the design. And just this year, I was able to launch my charity, Magda Khalifa Foundation. So a portion of the proceeds from Triangle Fragrance goes to Magda Khalifa Foundation. And a little bit about our charity. So we have a council. We're very transparent. We have our values listed on the website. And what we do is, our mission is to help people find inner peace and significance. And they do that through organizations, existing charities that support the tenets of the Freedom Triangle: time freedom, health freedom, and mind freedom. So we voted on the first organization to support. It's an existing organization named Task Force Dagger Special Operations Foundation. So they've been around a decade, or a little bit longer than a decade, and they've had a very successful track record of helping veterans in the special operations community with their health issues. I'm one of them. I was a recipient. I've also served on their board of advisors previously, so I was very familiar with the organization, and it was a unanimous vote amongst the council to support them as our first organization that we were going to provide grants for. So that's who we are currently supporting, and very excited about it because it's such an important program, and it's something that certainly needs more attention. So while I'm promoting the brand and the business, I can also shed a spotlight on the work that this organization is doing, and that is so important because it's really all about giving back.
Yeah, the people and the teams at Task Force Dagger and the work that they do for American combat veterans is incredible. They do a lot. They fly quite under the radar, so a lot of what they do is never publicized for obvious reasons. But the work they do is absolutely outstanding. So thank you for supporting them as well. What inspires you? Because I actually know you, so some of my viewers won't know you that well. So what inspires you? You're a get up and go, let's get the job done kind of a girl. So what inspires you?
So I think that's innately who I am as a person. I grew up in the North Jersey, area right outside New York City. It's hustle and grind. It's a very, very, even back then, in the 70s and 80s, it was a very densely populated area. So it's very competitive. So you have to move fast or get run over. So that's part of, the environment I grew up in. So that's how I am, a true Jersey girl. Although back in the 80s, the hair was out to here, right? And then of course, I slowed down a little bit, after war, dealing with, everything I was dealing with, like so many other veterans. But I've got my mojo back.
Yeah.
Now so I've reached the pinnacle of the Freedom Triangle, where everything is clear. I have clarity, which happens to be the name of one of the fragrances. I have clarity on what I need to do. Like they say, the most important day in your life is the day you were born and the day you figure out why. And I know why. Like I get it. I get why I went through what I went through. I get why, my 30s were, probably supposed to be some of my best years and they weren't. So that's okay. I figured out why these things happened. I found the answers. I found the truth. So I feel compelled to share it with others, to help others through their struggle, veterans and anybody who's gone through or is going through a struggle. That's the beauty about this. The Freedom Triangle is not prescriptive. It's guidance. It's a roadmap. And people can take from it as they need and apply to their lives as they need. But it really helps people apply that critical thought and think about things that they have not thought of before. So it's my mission to help impact lives through the charity, through speaking and educating about Freedom Triangle. And I'm the business, Triangle Fragrance. The fragrance, of course, is helping me grow as a business person, because I had never, I'd always been in a service-based business. That's what I had initially. I didn't have products. So that's, a whole other ballgame, about distribution and retail and manufacturing and everything else. So that's helping me grow. And as I grow, my superpowers grow, my capability grows. So I want to share that with others because, I feel very blessed to be in the position I am today. As you know, as a veteran, cancer and suicide have killed more of our brothers and sisters than actual combat. I mean, that's terrible. And of course, there are some things that just cannot be prevented, but we know the root cause of a lot of these problems. And it is a fact that, there are reasons that these things, that these losses of our heroes' lives have occurred, and they did not have to be that way. Polypharmacy, the practice of prescribing multiple medications with improper use to try to treat problems, and these medications that have side effects with suicidal ideations. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to see the quote, I say quote, solution that had been afforded to veterans. I remember at one point in, when things were really, really bad for me, I went to the Veterans Administration here in the United States. This was maybe 2010, 2011. And I just wanted to talk to somebody. And within 15 minutes, they were ready to put me on an experimental drug program. No, I ran, I left. I talk about that in the book, no way, So seeing that was the only option to help me, I had to find answers, on my own. And in order to do that, and this applies to anybody who's kind of finds themselves in the same position where they're hurting, they're struggling, but they don't want to go down the route of, say, medications or whatever, is being offered to them. Your ears have to be open and your mind has to be open to learn, and you have to do research and you have to ask questions and you have to talk to the right people, and you can figure things out along the way. It may not be overnight, but you can find the answers. So since I went through that journey, I certainly want to help as many others as possible. Another point to that is that whole, coming back from war and transitioning, after serving with such purpose and significance, at war, it's hard to find something and to be satisfied with sitting behind a desk, even if you're making great money. A lot of us have a lot more in us to give back. And, I went through the journey again, and I, realized what is really important. And right now, recently, I should say, I've been speaking a lot to veterans, transitioning veterans. and introducing them to the concept, or further, emphasizing the value of going into business for themselves. Why? Because they have so much in them, and after experiencing what they experienced and coming home and now having that vacuum to fill, there are a lot of parallels between the business world and being on, on a team, on deployment, on a mission. Murphy's going to show and rear its ugly head, and you're constantly solving problems. But we all know when you're in the military, you know how to do things with very little resource and sometimes very little guidance, So they have the elements to succeed, but they need to hear that sometimes. Like I know when I transitioned, nobody said that to me. Again, it was earlier on. It was 2007. We've been more, 6 years, the modern day, the global war on terror. The narrative at the time was very different. So it's time for veterans and others like myself to step up and lead and shine light on different paths that people can take. And I find business so empowering and so rewarding in the sense that you are, controlling the future, not just from a financial standpoint. It's much more than that. You have the ability to take the values that you believe in and create jobs and instill those values in the company and create products and services that solve problems and shape, the country and the world going forward. And it's powerful, especially right now where, here in the US, capitalism is under attack. I never thought I would see that as an adult, or in my lifetime rather. And, unfortunately, those are some of the realities out there, even within our country's boundaries. So I believe it's an important mission, and it's very fulfilling because I know I'm not cut out for, the 9 to 5 day to day, we'll pay you whatever. No, I need to be pushing forward, creating, like who in, especially in special operation, you're already at the tip of the spear, right? So why not apply that to business? And you'll see many, successful business owners who, veterans who become business owners who do that. And I think we need to see more examples of that, because then it provides another avenue that transitioning veterans can pursue.
I think it's important. I just would like the viewers to know as well that you are you're the only fragrance in the US, in America, that is owned by an American combat veteran as well, which is yourself. Would just like my viewers to understand that. So what you do is special, but the fact that you were the first to do it makes it even more special. And you've made Triangle of Fragrance. You've also now done the foundation as well, which is another channel for you to help veterans as well. So that is incredible what you've done there. I know you've got a lot of experience. I know you've seen a lot as well, especially in the early days and that. So well done for coming through all of that. You're talking from experience. You've been there, seen it, got the t-shirt. And I would like my viewers to understand that you've been there. You've been to war. You've seen it at its best and its worst. You've come home. You've gone through the transition yourself. So you understand what veterans are going through now when they're coming out. You're not reading from a pamphlet or a book. You're going from experience. I just want my viewers to understand that as well. You've gained a lot of support in a very short space of time, which I understand why, because everything you've done is quite remarkable. Who have you got supporting you? Can you give us a little bit of an exclusive here? Have you got any big names?
My network of folks, connected through social media. There are many folks who've been absolutely wonderful who, either, made a donation to the foundation or supported the business or read the book, or left reviews for any, for the book or the fragrance, or shared promulgated through their networks what it is that I'm doing, which means a lot. It's very grassroots at this stage. So I'm very grateful for that. And I know, I have a lot more to do. One of the things that I've learned from one of my mentors, very successful mentor, Grant Cardone, he said, people, you have to be out there. Like, what sells more, best or best known? So when you think about that, if people don't know you, they're not going to flow you. If they don't know about the organization and the foundation and what, who it's supporting, that's on me. That's my fault for not advertising it enough. Okay. So this is the thing. It's so important to be consistent and capitalize on that momentum, but you have to show up. You have to speak. You have to share what it is that you're doing. I believe in transparency. I think that's an important part of the process, at least, on the nonprofit side for sure, absolutely, especially today, because you've seen so many good and bad and everything in between. So that's important, but you have to show up, you have to be consistent, you have to put in the extra work and not just stay in your comfort zone. Now, here's the point I'm trying to stress is, especially from the special operations community, quiet professionalism, right? That's something that obviously we learned and it was ingrained in us, obviously, for operational security and personal security and mission security. Sure, that's great. But if you're going to go into business, you have to drop that QP. You have to be the loudest one in the room. And if you're not, it doesn't matter how good your product or service is. People don't know you. They're going to go with who they do know. Yeah. So that's one transition point that I think is challenging for some veterans. I know it was for me, but then when it made sense, I realized, okay, yes, I got it. Now I'm going to go all in.
It is funny you should bring that up, though, because it is for people like us to go public in such a big way. It's contrary to everything we did for so long. And it is, people think it's easy for us just to go public and talk and be in the public domain. It's not. It's like an alien concept to us. Goes against everything how we've been trained and everything. But once you start it, it does get a little bit easier with every time. So I know a lot of combat veterans with special operations, 20, 30 years experience. Get them on a camera, they have a heart attack, which I think is hilarious because they can deal with anything anywhere in the world. But it being on a camera, it does make them nervous, and getting up and talking on an interview, it can be a scary thing. Or getting up and talking to 100 people, 200 people on a stage, again, very different thing. Unless they've done it, people are a little bit apprehensive about it. But I think sometimes you've just got to have confidence in yourself as well. So I think, you've done some new posters for Triangle of Fragrance. They've just come out. They look incredible. Can you speak to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I shall, and I just, want to further illustrate, it's like when you learn to drive on the right side of the road, and then all of a sudden you have to drive on the left side of the road. That's how that switch is very uncomfortable for people. But bottom line, as long as you're not giving up national secrets or talking about anything that's classified, as long as you've left that behind, this is a whole new space. So think about things that way and promote. So yes, the fragrances. So I have fragrances for men, for women, and unisex fragrances that are pleasurable for both men and women. So the red line, which is, so I have a red, white, and blue line, of course, throwback to Made in USA and our beautiful flag. So red is confidence for women and victory for men. And that is the bold line, that's the smoky line. That's for the alpha man and the alpha woman. Beautiful scent. So those were the first two to come out. And that Cuban tobacco note, Russian leather, vanilla and bourbon in victory, has actually garnered acclaim from a couple of fragrance reviewers who absolutely loved it. And confidence for women, vanilla, lavender, rose, and whiskey just gives that proper edge. Beautiful scent, beautiful scent. So the white line, that ties to health freedom, consists of clarity for women and energy for men, and they're both citrusy based. The energy has the Asian bamboo, so it's subtle, it's very nice. Wear it in the office during the day and whatnot, or even at night. Subtle, very light scent, beautiful. And of course, we have the lime scent in the clarity, which it's just a combination of with bergamot and everything else. It's just so beautiful. Then we have the blue line, which consists of peace and freedom. And the blue line is the unisex line. So that's a sweeter line. Peace is warm and spicy. The cloves, the cinnamon in there, the black tea, it's beautiful scent. Men and women love peace. And freedom is very special. Freedom, the sweet smell of freedom. Who doesn't love the sweet smell of freedom? Orange, tangerine, and campfire. Tonka bean. It is beautiful. That was the hardest to work on. It was important to me to capture that campfire smell. Who in the service was served previously, or in law enforcement doesn't appreciate that warm fire, because a lot of times you're cold, you're wet, you're sleep deprived. And there is a lot of comfort that comes from a fire. I remember being in Iraq, and we didn't have much, of course, and we'd set up a little bonfire and throw pieces of copper that we found laying around camp into the fire, and seeing the lovely colors that came out of it. That was entertainment. So getting that campfire note just right and sweetening it up a little bit, that's a winner, very popular as well. So each fragrance has unique notes, and again, a story that ties back to Freedom Triangle, which is so powerful.
Absolutely. All the information for your book, the links, the links to the foundation, and the links to your website and your other information will be underneath the interview. So if all my viewers have a look under that, they'll be able to find any information that they want to get or find more information out. Everything will be there as well. All right, Magda, if there's a little bit of advice you would like to give to any veterans out there, or veteran-owned companies out there, both across the United States and in the UK, what would that bit of advice be?
Sure. So, well, there's 2 points. One, as an individual, personally, because if your health is not right, if your mind is not right, it's going to make running a business or doing whatever else you're doing so much harder. So I would encourage them to tap into, start learning, what we don't know, what we're not taught in the military or, anywhere else. From the nonprofits that are making a difference, from Hunter 7 Foundation, I think it's hunter7.org, Task Force Dagger Foundation. They share the root cause of a lot of these issues, the health issues that we as veterans are experiencing. And having that knowledge empowers you to do something about it. So I would encourage them, for themselves, they're if they have veteran employees and whatnot, to make the time to get the answers, and I know it could seem like you're drinking from the fire hose, but even just understanding, how lack of sleep is an issue and is affecting you and, your relationships and probably your business. If you do that, you're going to be able to operate much more efficiently. And that's so important. From a business standpoint, I would say, don't try to build business on your own. Don't try to figure things out. It will take you a long time. And, you may give up if you're not getting the wins back. There are shortcuts. And that's the one thing I learned. That's why M in mentorship in the book, M is for mentorship. Okay. Because when I started having business mentors, they were able to help me find those shortcuts. So it didn't take me as long. As you mentioned, I have had a lot of momentum in the 1 year of Triangle Fragrance. And that's because I listened to the principles that my mentor shared with me, and I applied them to my business and put them into action. Now, had I known about these principles and understood them, 9 years ago when I started my first business, things would have been different, and that's fine. Everything happens at right place, right time. So I would encourage veterans, business owners, or those thinking about becoming business owners, to connect with people who have achieved more in business than yourself. If you're asking your friend, your buddy that you served with questions about business and they don't run a business, what kind of advice do you expect you're going to get? Because they obviously do not understand it. They haven't done it themselves. So you want to connect with folks who have the ability, the experience to share that with you. And there are so many out there, and there are a lot of free resources. I personally find value in paying to play, because proximity to power is so important. And sometimes you have to pay to get in the room, to get the knowledge. You'll never regret investing in yourself, because maybe you're going in there for a specific problem in your business, but you're walking out with tools or shortcuts or answers or solutions for something else in your business. So there's always value, or for something personal in your life. Okay. So I would say invest in your health, through the resources I mentioned, the nonprofits who are really leading the way in solving, these problems for veterans. And then number two, you want to connect with other business owners who want to pour into you, who want to see you succeed and win. Because if you think about this, if you're a successful business owner, do you want to be the only one up there? No. Why? I mean, the world is huge. You need other business owners to strengthen economies, so you could do business with them, so that you can grow together, so you can collaborate, so you can partner, so you can learn from them as well. So it just makes sense,
Yeah, I think it's important that my golden rule in life is, if in doubt, ask. That's the way I look at it. You want to know something, ask and you get the answer. The other one is surround yourself with good, productive, positive people. If you're the most intelligent person in your group, change your group. That might sound harsh, but it works. Surround yourself with good people. Is there anything else, Magda, you'd like to say on the interview?
Yeah, I mean, there is so much out there, but what I would say is change your comfort zone. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. Do the most difficult thing. Do that first in the day. Do that, and then you have a victory.
Exactly. That's what it's about. Magda, I don't get to say it that much on interviews, but thank you for your service and everything that you were doing for the veteran community as well. Very much appreciated.
And thank you for everything you're doing. You're making a huge impact at a time where veterans and people, around the world need that impact. So thank you for everything you are doing and everything you have done, and for your service as well.
Okay, Magda, thank you very much for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Patriot Show. It's been emotional, informative, and as always, very entertaining. Magda, thank you so much. If you can stay on the line for a couple of minutes. Right, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed that. Tune in for another interview in a few days' time on the Patriot Show. Stay safe to everyone who is deployed as well. Goodbye.